wanted to sell their cars in California. So they complied with the CAFE standards, and all of a sudden it became sort of the law of the land through EPA. The reality is this: in California, the government has told its citizens, you have to make energy choices. You can only plug your vehicle in certain times of day, or you can't plug it in because of the draw on power. People wanted to cool their homes or heat their homes, or et cetera. So the reality is the grid doesn't support it. Power generation has been taken out of the generation mix as generation is retired and not replaced by something that's dispatchable 24/7, 365 baseload. And forcing electric vehicles as the only choice, which is, I think, the Democrat plan, the only choice for Americans, is not feasible in this country with our grid and et cetera. I appreciate the gentleman yielding. I yield back.
And my time has expired. I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Further discussion. Chair recognizes Ms. Matsui for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I move to strike the last word and speak in opposition to H.R. 1435.
Ms. Matsui is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm a proud Californian, and we work hard in California because we understand the effects of pollution. You know, we've been dealing with the impacts of air pollution for a long time, and we have repeatedly led the nation in addressing air pollution, whether it's greenhouse gases, smog, or other pollutants. California established the first tailpipe emission standard in the country in 1966. In 1971 and 1982, we adopted the first NOx standards and the first particulate matter standards for motor vehicles. The Clean Air Act recognizes California's leadership, explicitly and intentionally affirming California's authority to set separate, more stringent emission standards. Thanks to that authority, California has made incredible progress in reducing air pollution. However, we are now facing new challenges. Greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles are making extreme weather more frequent and more deadly. Record-breaking heat and rainfall threaten to make our communities unlivable. Larger, more intense, and more frequent wildfires have erased many of the air quality gains since the 1970s. Once again, California has developed cutting-edge emission standards that reduce greenhouse gas pollutants and lead the world in the fight against air pollution. But H.R. 1435 would prevent California from reducing air pollutants and addressing climate change by requiring California to keep dirty gas and diesel-powered vehicles on the roads forever. This Congress, we've heard a lot about the need for a technology-neutral approach to reducing emissions. But this bill does exactly the opposite. This bill mandates the continued use of the internal combustion engine. This bill appears to be intended to prevent California from decarbonizing before rural areas have the infrastructure to support this transition. But this is unnecessary. The Clean Air Act already requires that California's emission standards be deemed feasible. Some of my colleagues have expressed concern that automakers are not ready for this transition. But many automakers have already committed to a zero-emission future. California recently announced a landmark deal with the world's largest truck manufacturers to meet California's emission standards, even if California's authority under the Clean Air Act is challenged, rendering this bill meaningless. I urge my colleagues to vote no on H.R. 1435, and I yield back the balance of my time. Thank you.
Gentlelady yields back. For what purpose does Mr. Palmer seek recognition?